points, and especially, when, like I was saying on this year's topic, I think people are going to get, really fiat happy with the states, with the privates, and the relationship between the states and the privates. I think they're going to violate some laws with their fiat, because they're going to say, like, the state should engage in, public-private loan guarantee, partnership, grant, super funds, right? Whatever your app is, we're just going to add that to their counter plan, which in some instances may just like straight up violate some laws, tax laws, and some of those kinds of things. Which is a great way to strike down capitalism. I tried to make a list of some of these things that the core how fiat relates to other issues, right? I think people sometimes just assume fiat's really only about counter plans or the affirmative plan, and actually process disadvantages, things related to the plan, questions of time, are really big, right? Fiat and normal means. We've talked about this a bunch now. Know the normal means of your plan. That's the easiest way to defend fiat. No one will ever claim you're violating fiat if you're doing something the way it's naturally done, or should be done. Okay? This is an important question and something certainly for your dear groups, right? When does fiat begin? When does fiat begin? Do you assume the beginning of the process, or do you assume the end of the process? Right? Is fiat you and I sitting in our kitchens and we haven't made the telephone call to the congressperson yet? Right? And that's the starting point? Or is fiat, bill, I'm a law. Bill becomes a law, right? And the world now reacts to bill becomes a law, right? That's a huge question on how you interpret politics, right? Because if fiat starts at the beginning of the process, then process DAs are all fair game. But if fiat means, the world starts with, I'm just a bill, or, I become law, you're law now, woo, then you really only have action-reaction arguments. And so then your politics DA has to be an action-reaction, right? The plan passed, that cost the president political capital, that gave the president political capital, right? That plan passed, right? It saw a huge drop in popularity, healthcare Supreme Court decision comes out, all of a sudden the president's popularity drops, right? Well, that's an example of action-reaction.
Does that mean you can say that fiat solves relates to politics?
Some politics, right? Not all. It means that, it does mean, though, that, well, yes, you can always make that argument because that's one of those that enforces the other team to have to answer. That's a good one. But the answer is you want that to be situational, right? Potentially, fiat would solve a horse trading argument, for instance, or that sort of link, or a political, process link, right? But it might not solve a link that was based on action-reaction. The plan passes, and that, costs the president, those kind of things, right? So I think you got to be situational. But yeah, absolutely. Right? Is fiat only future thinking, or can you fiat the past? Okay, the K-apps, genealogies, and some of those kind of affirmatives, right, are all based on this question. Actually, I think that first question has a little of that element in it. I've always found it fascinating that the negative wants fiat to begin at the plan, begins at the start of the process, right, which is assume some past has occurred, right, but isn't willing to, allow you to, go back in time, right? Why can't we go back in time as a counterplan? Be a great advantage counterplan. Go back in time, tweak this, do this little thing different. Go back in time and actually, get Carter to implement his energy policy in the 1970s that would have saved global warming. Solve global warming. Elect Al Gore, that might have solved global warming. But that's an interesting question. with the genealogies and some of the counterfactual affirmatives and those things, relate to that. I got a couple of good ideas on this topic. If you answer that question, and it's okay to talk about the past. That big old bridge falling down in Minnesota, that'd be a good narrative to tell. The genealogy of the bridge, what that is a statement of in terms of our issues. How long does fiat last? This is one that's hard to answer. It's certainly debatable, right? But how you answer, is fiat like permanent? Is it like sacred cow? That's how I get my sacred cow link. I ask you how long fiat lasts, and you say fiat permanent. I'm like, yes! Sacred cow link! Hey, who doesn't like a fiat-based link? Come on. You don't even have to have a car. It's like when they say no link, and you say that person not topical. Okay. But how long does fiat last? Is it permanent, or is it just, is it like the cosmic timeout? It's like, time out, plan, time in, woo! Plan, back out, no plan, right? Congress has literally repealed itself the next day on at least 3 occasions that I know of, since the 1990s, right? Because Adrian Rivero keeps got those cards. And so Congress has repealed itself, like the next day, right? So if I read a card that says, your plan's going to get repealed the next day, does fiat take care of that? Well, some people would say it should, or else we don't have that discussion anymore, right? We don't get that arena of argument anymore, okay? But how long does it last? If it's permanent, well, then that's not realistic either, okay? Because nothing's permanent, and those kinds of things. So that's an interesting one. The neg fiat question, we already talked about that. That's just a good distraction. Oh, it's fine. I'll just show you some of these slides, and like I said, I'll send this out. I have some other examples, like when did the plan pass, like now or later, which I think is a really cool one, especially with elections. People are going to try to trick you with the delay counter plan. Do your plan after the election, sucker. Probably wouldn't have built that road anyways, right? That bridge, we didn't care about that bridge anyways till after November, right? Or we're going to pass your plan in secret until after the election. That's a fiat question. Does fiat mean public? Does fiat mean, those things? That's a fiat issue. But I'll send this one to your, theory group people, and you can debate pass now, pass later to your class. Can you fiat attitudes? This is a fun one, especially for the K alternative vote. What's the implication to critique alternatives? If you say no fiating to attitudes, then potentially the chaos in a little bit of trouble. Because then you can't imagine a world where the judge endorses your intellectual experiment. Okay? Because if fiat just means to, give impetus for that argumentative arena, if I can't do that for individuals, which a lot of people argue you can't, okay? Because that seems a little on the sketch side. Or maybe it's just real because every actor involves individuals. You can see the yes/no sort of side of that. Yeah, the agent counterclaim one. Somebody asked in the break. Does that really answer the question? I say no in this instance, right? Because no policymaker. There's never been an instance in the entire history of the congressional record where our government has advocated, where someone in our government has advocated on the floor of the Congress for another government to do something. They just don't stand up, and that's like Pepsi challenge. I like using that absolute. I hope one of you finds it and emails it to me where actually it was. Because that'd be one of those where I could then use that card if it gets that, and whoever finds the new 2012 impact card, economic collapse causes from 2012. Replace, and Russia collapsed. Like, really, David in 99 still? Just heard that, last month. So, anyway. So agent counterclaim, one more. There's one, I think there's one last one, yeah. These are fiat debates you can actually win 50 states, private actor, judicial fiat, or test case fiat, multiple actor fiat, international fiat. And what more? Oh yeah, and these are just foods for thought to leave you with related to fiat. Does fiat relate to permutations? And should there be a fiat element? We already talked about the idea of fiat and critique alternatives. How do those intersect? Because I found it fascinating that critiques begin with an indictment of fiat. Right? Nothing ever happens in debate, so we have to discuss representations and how we talk and those kind of things. But at the same time, the endorsement often of a critique alternative is a much grander intellectual endorsement exercise, or a much grander critical thinking exercise when we talk about starting or opening up an argumentative arena, that maybe we should ask ourselves a fiat question over that exercise. And then, can you fiat like future action? Like, can I ban intervention, or ban protectionism, or ban countries don't fight as a way to an advantage now? Because if so,